Hello and welcome to Got Clutter, Get Organized, the conversation. Of course, I always get excited when there's a fellow professional organizer on. And of course, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so we're going to have a conversation about that as well. But Michelle Hobgood is here, the tidy trainer. I am excited to have you here with me today.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, you are a breast cancer survivor, but before we get into that conversation, what made you decide to be a professional organizer?
Okay, well, it was a little bit of a maze, but I'm sure you've heard this many times before. I've always been organized. I've worked in the fashion industry. I transitioned to fitness. When I worked in the fashion industry, I worked in the editorial and like sales division, but a lot of print work. So we would have photo shoots, and we had fashion closets where we would pull looks for our photo shoots. And as an intern, my fashion closet that I was in charge of was the talk of the town, honey. It was super organized, and everyone was just like, "Oh my God, Michelle's closet." And I was training other interns on how to fix their closet, and it started from there. And I was just always just really good with setting up systems and implementing systems that way. And from after leaving the fashion industry, I transitioned to fitness, and the same thing. I ran several gyms. I worked in all different types of fitness centers, nonprofit, corporate. I My last gym was at HBO in their employee fitness center. And one of the things that I was known for is for keeping a very organized space. My gym floor was organized, my office, and I actually ended up getting a promotion because I had decluttered and organized an entire office that was in front of the director's office, and like my first month being there. And when it came time for the promotion, I applied for the job, and they actually told me, "Well, you took the initiative." And of course, I was qualified, but just that of not being able to see clutter and not being able to do something about it, that's always been embedded in me. So yeah.
And I understand. I truly understand. So, Michelle, you are a breast cancer survivor, and of course, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So, what was your journey like from diagnosis to treatment?
Okay, so the diagnosis is a little tricky because I'm 49 now. I was 48 at the time, and I was always going and getting my mammograms and ultrasounds because I was told I had dense breasts. And there was always some issue of like checking on my breasts in like my mid 40s. I was going to a breast specialist and all of those things. I had a biopsy back in 2021 and in the same breast, and it came out, fine. So every year when I was going to get my mammogram and ultrasound, I would get on social media because I'm also a content creator. I get on social media and I would let folks know what's going on. Like, hey guys, going to get that mammogram. Don't forget to get yours. Um, so this particular time, I decided to just go on and tell everyone, okay, I'm going to get my mammogram. Well, they came back and said, you need a biopsy. And I was just kind of like, another one? Okay. So I had to go back on social media again and follow up and say, okay, well, they got to do a biopsy this time, but keep me in your prayers. Everything's going to be good. And I want to say, within like maybe 48 hours, the results came in. And I have a son with a disability. My husband was away on a business trip, and that particular morning, I was getting my son ready for him to be picked up for his program that he attends, and I went on my phone for some reason because I was sitting down helping him eat breakfast, and the alert came in that my results from your biopsy. So I thought nothing of it,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, it's just going to be like the last time, I'm just going to. So I picked up my phone and I went online, and it said invasive ductal carcinoma. And being a fitness professional, I have a master's degree in exercise science. I'm privy to what carcinoma means, and I was just like, is this does that say carcinoma? And I was just so shocked. I I was just standing there and I was just staring. First of all, that I had to find out that I had cancer on a portal. Um, Come to find out that's actually a law that was passed during the pandemic that people have to get their results before their doctor can give it to them. Like your results have to automatically be sent when they are ready. And later found out that many people have gotten their results that way. Many women, many people. Um, so there was that. Um, and just my surprise around the entire diagnosis was I have no history of cancer in my family. I've spent 20 years in the health and wellness industry. I exercise. I eat fairly well. I'm not going to say that I ate perfectly because I'm Caribbean. I love my food. But also, I was on the cusp of perimenopause and was going through all these sort of symptoms that I wasn't ready for because no one in my family or other women had explained that you could have heart palpitations and depression and anxiety and all of these weird things, tinnitus, like all these things would happen to you once you start perimenopause. So I was just really on the heels of that. That year was like one of the worst years of my life as I was trying to navigate, like, excuse my French, what the F is wrong with me? Like, you feel like a totally different person. You don't know what's happening. So I was trying to navigate that. And it was like coming off of the end of that year where I was under a
Hmm.
tremendous amount of stress.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, I got the results. I battled with why is this happening to me when, like I said, there's no history of cancer in my family. I took genetic tests that I don't have the BRCA gene. I'm a healthy person. Um, this doesn't make any sense. I can't have cancer. Like, what do you mean I have cancer? Like, this is just this. It took a while for it to sink in.
Hmm.
When I finally did speak with my doctors, it was phase one, caught very early. I had a lumpectomy where they removed the tumor. The tumor was very small. I then had 3 weeks of radiation. Um, but for me, it was more of like a wake up call also for me to take better care of myself and to reduce my stress, which as a caretaker,
Hmm.
my son is 30 and I had my son when I was 20 years old. So I've been a caretaker for someone with a disability for 30 years. Um, that's a very stressful life. Um, and I'd never really thought to think like how stress played a part of my health. And later on, I realized like my stress manifested in my health. Um, I was also into my third week on hormone replacement therapy because I was having such issues with perimenopause. I went on HRT. And within that third week of being on it, I noticed that my breast was really sore. And that was right around the time that I had my mammogram. But my doctors all assured me, like your HRT didn't give you breast cancer. If anything, it may have, shined a light on something that was already there and made it pop out faster, which I'm actually grateful for that we could find it in the early phase, right? So have finished radiation, and today I'm cancer free. I with clean margins that didn't spread to my lymph nodes. And each day I just try to reduce my stress and change my lifestyle. My husband has lost 20 pounds. I've lost 20 pounds. We've changed the way that we cook, the things that we have in our home. We've gone way outside of just like, oh, go on a diet, but like changing the plastics, not using the microwave as much. Just so many things, changing the makeup that I use. Like there's so many things. But yeah, that's pretty much the story.
Well, thank you for sharing. And I think it's important for people to hear because sometimes we have this misconception about people who get cancer, who are diagnosed. And I mean, even a friend who she wasn't diagnosed with breast cancer, but it was a type of cancer. And like you, she was healthy. I mean, she's like the healthiest eater that we all know. And I was just in shock when she said that word chemotherapy. I said, wait a minute, back up. What did you say? Did you just went through? Because I thought you were working on a project and you were actually, and it just kind of surprised me. So thank you for sharing, because I think we all need to be aware, because in learning her story, but also now hearing yours is like, okay, Janet, what do you need to? Because I was a caregiver for my mother for years, and now I'm wondering what impact that has had. But my next question to you, Michelle, is what, as you were going through your treatment and your journey, how did your, I guess your gift of organization impact how you managed your life? You know, you got the husband, you got the son, but you also have yourself and your health journey. How did that impact it?
Well, one of the things that I noticed was when I was going through perimenopause, like all of my things that I was doing to keep my home organized, they felt harder. That's why I knew something was wrong with me, because I'm just like, okay, for example, I could get my son ready in an hour and a half, that some breakfast to like helping him change and then leaving the house, usually in an hour and a half. But when I was going through perimenopause, it was taking much longer. I would be doing something and I would lose my train of thought. I'd have like a brain fog and I'd be like, what was I doing again? And I'd forget and go back and repeat. Um, so if I didn't already have systems set up, I don't know what I would have done, because it was a blessing too, because it was just like, thank God I have like an organized home and systems for caretaking and systems set up so that I can actually get through this, because it also taught me to realize that something was wrong with me. And when I couldn't do my normal organizing things and my normal things, or I'd forget what I was doing, that's when I knew like I need to figure out what's wrong. And I ended up being diagnosed with ADHD.
Hmm.
And yes, because I always had a therapist, and I was telling my
Okay.
therapist what was going on, and she had me see a psychologist. Yeah. And they
Okay.
tested me, and they actually helped me learn that, because my idea of someone with ADHD is always just, I've worked with clients with ADHD in the past, has been, you know, they're chronically disorganized, or they're messy, like really, just the general things that you would hear, the general stereotypes, to be honest. And I was just like, but I'm neat. I'm organized. But I actually learned that all of the things that I was doing, like all of my checklists that I would do at my job, which is why I was really good at doing the SOPs at every job and why everyone would come to me for setting things up, is because of my ADHD. All of those things were coping mechanisms that I would need in order to get by and to strive. So come to find out, like, wow, that was really a learning process, right? But during my with my cancer journey, I already had these systems set up prior to going into my lumpectomy. So I'd had other surgeries before for umbilical hernia and things like that. And I knew ahead of time, okay, before my surgery, I'm going to order all the things that I need.
Mhm.
I'm going to make sure that my, space is very clean and organized. I'm going to bring in, more plants, more essential oils, things to make me feel calm. I'm going to make sure that I have my medication tray, everything already set up. Where am I going to be sleeping? Is it going to be on the sofa? Okay, I'm going to have my pillows and everything out here. So all of those organizational things really helped me to get by. And also even prepping for meals of what I was going to eat. My experience as a personal trainer and a wellness coach, I prepped all of my food so that I could have healthy meals and snacks. Um, I made sure that my cabinet was all cleaned out so that we would have everything that my husband could just grab and go and help. Um, so organization played a huge part. And I actually want to help other cancer survivors and other people with that, because I can understand. I've met other women like me who've gone through this, and they say that, when they're looking around their home and they have the clutter, it's just kind of like, it's hard to heal. It's
Mhm.
harder to heal when you
Yeah.
are surrounded by clutter and surrounded by things that make you feel even worse in your situation. And it's also harder if you're starting off as someone that's chronically disorganized and going into a diagnosis or any kind of health diagnosis, and you have an issue with letting go of things, now if you're adding on this mental health aspect and this physical health aspect, it's going to be a little bit harder. And that was what it was for me. I'd lost 20 pounds prior to my surgery, basically, but I had a hard time letting go of the clothes that I've been that size for 5 years. Couldn't lose the weight. And once I got my diagnosis and I completely changed how I ate, the weight was like falling off. But I didn't want to let go of the clothes that my bigger self was, because I knew that I was going to get on medication after all of this was over that causes weight gain. So I said, let me just put this all these clothes in storage. Like
Okay.
like four different sizes I had gone down. And each one of them were in storage. And one day, like after I got on my medication, it's been like about 2 months now. I haven't gained any weight, but I was still like, well, let me just give it 6 more months. And I said, you know what? What would you tell your clients?
Mm,
You would ask them to trust the process, and I had to do that. So I literally took all of the clothes out. This is the size that I am now. I'm using my own organizing concept, and I'm not going to manifest that I'm going to gain weight just because, like, oh, well,
yeah.
this medication is going to cause it. I'm not going to put that out there. So I donated everything. But in any event, all of those things play a huge part in organizing when it comes to your health.
And it does. It does because I went through a hysterectomy. And before I had the operation, I had like 30 days. So, one, my doctor told me, she's like, look, you do as many exercises to get that core tight as possible. And that really helped the recovery. But like you said, I organized my home. I made sure, because my best friend moved in with me. So I made sure the cabinets were organized. I made sure, because I knew there were certain things I wouldn't be able to do, getting in and out the drawers. I made sure I had things, trays here, the stuff stacked there. And I think what you would offer people would just be such a wonderful gift and a blessing, because the one thing that I felt really helped me, well, one was because I had somebody there to cook for me, which really helps a lot.
Of
But
course.
also, but then also, and this gets into my next question. I also had people who were just leaving, bringing food over and putting it in my freezer, but also just to be able just to sit and rest my body, because I would have probably moved stuff and did this. But one other question I have for you is, how was your community or your tribe? How did they help? Because I know sometimes, and at least this is my personality, Michelle, sometimes as organizers, we do try to do it and this, that, and the other. But then there comes a time when we have to, like you said, let go. So were there moments where you said, you know what, I'm letting go, and people just came and just began to just really assist you in this journey?
Yes, absolutely. My husband, who is like, he was just everything. I'm still to this day like in awe of him. He had to take care of me and take care of my son, who is, we have to take care of. He is intellectually disabled as well, not speaking with autism. So it's like you're taking care of a child. You have to do everything for him. So him having to do that and take care of me, he was phenomenal. We have a home health aide, or an aide that helps. So she actually um, allowed my son to come and stay with her and her family after I had my surgery. And he stayed there for about 2 weeks. And my mom helped out to an extent because she's elderly, so she couldn't really contribute that much. And my friends, they contributed, and my husband's family, and just like all, and just one of the things too, people from social media, because I had to go back and share my diagnosis, because after I found out that I had cancer, I was in so much shock. I disappeared from Instagram after I had the biopsy. And people were DMing me and asking me, are you okay? Where have you been? Is everything all right? And I was just like ignoring them because I was just still in shock. And once I decided that I was going to share it, I posted about it on Instagram, and the amount of people that helped and reached out to me, strangers like sending me breast cancer kits for the surgery. One person sent me a lumpectomy kit with things you could use to heal from your lumpectomy. I was just shocked, like literal strangers. My sister in law did a GoFundMe campaign for me to help with some of the costs because although I have health insurance, breast cancer is expensive. The copays and all of the things that you have to do after,
Mm,
not even before, but like after, um, thousands of dollars that I never really would have thought of. Like, oh, I have insurance, I'm fine, we're good. We have savings, we're fine, we're good. I just wasn't prepared for that. Luckily, she thought about that, so people donated that I didn't even know, huge amounts of money from strangers, just from like following me on social media. So that part I was so completely shocked about from the community. Other parents of kids with disabilities reaching out. So I was very much blessed to, they say that social media is a blessing and a curse because sometimes sharing your life so honestly has its downsides because you do have people that will share their opinion that you didn't ask for
I know.
about, yeah,
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
things,
Mm-hmm.
about your
Mm-hmm.
family, how you lead your life. I even had some people telling me like, asking me, how did I get cancer? Like, how did you get it? Like, I got like a cold, so there's some ignorance there. I
Yeah.
also had people sending me all kinds of like concoctions of things that I could drink that would help me get rid of my cancer. And I had to actually note about it and say, hey, thank you so much for all of the love, but here's what I don't need, and thank you so much. Like, please
Yeah.
don't send me
Yeah.
these things that's going to, because then it also, for anyone that's listening, I do want to say this. If you happen to have a friend or if you know someone that's diagnosed with any kind of cancer, you telling them what they should do and what treatment they should do, if they didn't ask you for it unsolicited,
Yeah. Yeah.
don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Mm,
Especially if it's a person you don't personally know, it's a stranger online. Uh, they're dealing with so much already and they're trying to navigate
mm-hmm.
their own care. Unsolicited
Yeah.
advice, not welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, everyone rallied around me and I was just so happy. There's another downside too, because, and this is something that I've heard from other people as well, some of the people that you expected to be there for you aren't going to be there. Like, some folks disappeared. Some people that I've known for years, I saw them in person and they just acted really weird towards me, and I've learned now from being in support groups that some people, for them, your health diagnosis is going to be triggering for them, and they don't want to handle your diagnosis, so they're going to disappear. And and if I'm being honest, because I'm always honest, that is something that did happen as part of my community. The people that I thought, some people that I thought were going to be there weren't. The ones that were there, they were, and I was happy for them. And others that I had no idea would ever help did.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. That is true. In those times, we do really find out who our true friends are. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Michelle, this has been a wonderful conversation. I've learned some things from you. I've learned that, Janet, you need to just get your butt up and just do the exercise 30 minutes a day. That's all they ask. Just do it. And also work on my diet as well. So how can people connect with you? Because you are a home organizer. And hopefully you'll want to come back and, talk about some tips in the new year. But how do people connect with you?
Well, you can find me at thetidytrainer.com if you're looking for organizing services, and I have a blog there with tips and things like that. And I'll be sharing some other things on there pretty soon because I'm back to work. And at it's M Hobgood on Instagram.
And of course, those watching and listening, I will have all of Michelle's links on the show page so you can connect with her directly. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for your time today. It is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Janet. Happy to be here.